Greetings, everyone. Core here. Gonna do a little double review just because kind of wanted to, and I kind of missed the boat on the opening days of when they first released for these movies. Which the first movie I'll be talking about is Mortal Kombat, which came out about 2 weeks ago. Yeah, something like that. Maybe 3 weeks. The second one is the Mitchells versus the Machines, I believe. Yeah, yeah, the Mitchells versus the Machines, which is on Netflix, and Mortal Kombat is on HBO Max, but it was also released to some theaters that were, that were eligible and open to the public too as well. So with Mortal Kombat, just right off the bat, I liked it. I enjoyed it. It wasn't as corny overall as the first two movies, but it still had its corniness to it. So it did have some really corny parts, but it didn't feel too out of place. Like it had a pretty good balance. Um, it was interesting that they chose to go with like an original character in this movie instead of the many characters they've had. But of course, that's what a lot of people say. But I didn't have a problem with it. I actually thought the main character was gonna turn out differently, but it came out. It was fine. I mean, like for what it was, it works. Like it makes sense. After watching it a couple times, actually, it was a good movie. Definitely a good movie for sure. Definitely worth your time if you like Mortal Kombat. Check it out. My favorite character was Kano. Kano pretty much stole the soul. He stole the show, the whole movie, with all his dialogue. If he was on the screen, I was smiling or laughing at some of the ridiculous things he was saying, doing, and just overall, Kano was the best. Kano was awesome in this movie. Um, the whole scene, the scenes with Scorpion, Sub Zero, the opening scene, of course, was amazing. That was a great opening scene. It really sets the it. It's funny because it sets the tone as far as the R-ratedness of this movie, but it doesn't really set the tone of the movie until the end, of course. But yeah, like it's weird. This movie has a lot going on, and it has a very brisk pace. It doesn't feel long, even though it's close to 2 hours, which is interesting that they got it up to 2 hours. But there's a lot to work with Mortal Kombat, so yeah, it's interesting what they did. The actors did, fine jobs. I mean, a lot of them, nobody felt phoned in, nobody felt weak, nobody, it all worked with the writing, the characters, art design and stuff, and the CG and stuff. Everything worked really well considering that this is a pretty low budget movie, and for what it was, it works. um, they think they just greenlit a sequel to it, so that'll be interesting to see what they do. This is supposed to be a prequel to the original Mortal Kombat movies, so that's interesting to see what they're going to do with the main character from this one. But yeah, it was a good movie overall. I liked it, enjoyed it, I had fun. Kano was, like I said, Kano was the best in this whole movie. Um, Sonya was probably the most bland of them all, but that's kind of the character of Sonya. She always seems very not. Uh, she's not utilized as well, I guess you can say, as some of the other characters. They all have more style and personality than she does, but that's just her character, more or less. So overall, Mortal Kombat was really great. I enjoyed it. I recommend it if you're curious at all. The R-rated worked really well. Everything worked really well, actually. It was overall a really good movie. I liked it. Enjoyed it a lot. So next, we'll be going on to, which is the more recent movie I saw, which was The Mitchells versus the Machines, which I believe they changed the title. Excuse me. I know with this movie, it was delayed. Even before the pandemic, I think they delayed it before the lockdowns and stuff. And I believe it had a different title too. I just don't remember what it was. I remember seeing this trailer for like 2 years ago at least, and it looked interesting. But with everything that's going on, it just got lost in the shuffle until Netflix bought it, and they just posted it up the end of last year. Not last year, last month. So it's only been out for about a month, less than a week. Man, I'm losing track of time. It's been out for less than a week on Netflix, so anyone can watch it on Netflix. I'm not sure international wise, but here in the U.S. you can watch it. So that's how I watched it. Was just threw it on, was watching it while doing some other stuff. Then I realized there's a lot going on because this is Sony Animations, which they just got off the last, they're very high energy, like Hotel Transylvania movies, but especially with the last, big Oscar-winning movie of Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, they definitely went back and did a lot of that digital artists going back and adding to the scene and stuff. And it works. It definitely shows. It definitely works for this story. Just because, it's a story of, the core of it. It's the whole, father and daughter not getting along. They kind of grow out of each other, where it's just like, yeah, that the daughter finds her own creative self, and it just doesn't blend well with the father, and they just grow apart. Or as she grows older, she's leaving for college, of course, and the father does something crazy to try to, connect once more with the daughter, and just, it's the basic story we've seen. They go on a road trip. Pretty much all hell breaks loose. The robot apocalypse happens, and they are literally the last family that could do something. Which it's interesting. I mean, yeah, we've kind of, we've seen this tropes and all that stuff. We've seen it. It's definitely has some really good moments. It's nice that the daughter is this like filmmaker, Photoshop editor and stuff like that. That she's very creative, very interesting. One of the things I found interesting was that on her hands, she actually writes on her hands, which I'm pretty sure that has to do with when she's doing her filming and stuff. She probably writes notes and stuff on her hands, and you could actually see it, the faded ink and the smudges and stuff from her washing her hands and stuff after making these movies. So that's an interesting little touch, because of course, yeah, she's underage. She's going to college, but I'm pretty sure they're not tattoos. I'm pretty sure they're just her writing on her hand, for quick notes for her movies and stuff. So yeah, it's really cool how they did that. I feel, I do want to say something that I haven't read anything about it. Granted, of course, like, this movie might be flying under the radar right now, probably because not a lot of people have seen it or know about it. But I'm just throwing it out there. I feel like the daughter might be gay. I'm not trying to be controversial or anything like that. It's just something I picked up from the way that she talks about this other girl that's, going to, that's she met, that, they've been like FaceTiming and sending messages and stuff about. That other girl, of course, is going, she's met because she's also at the college that she's going to. She's going to this new college for video editing and photo stuff, and movie making out in California. But it's just the way she talks about this other girl and all the visuals that they show, where, it's the friends that, that she's been making before going to the college, and just the way it's shown. It's not in your face. It's there. It seems like it's not something that they just like, throw out there just to say, hey, we got, a gay main character. It's definitely very real world style. They don't really bring up the issue of it. It's kind of funny because they actually have a relationship with the little brother. The little brother finds this like neighbor girl that they both have a common interest in dinosaurs, which I can relate. Love dinosaurs. Awesome. Who doesn't love giant lizards that have feathers instead of scales? But yeah, it's interesting that that's the relationship we get, in our face. Well, not really in our face, but there's a more blatant relationship, which is funny because it's just kids, because it's just funny. Like the writing in this movie is really good. It think it captures all the characters very well. The the mother is very supportive. She's a first grade teacher or second. She's an early elementary school teacher. She has that personality of just trying to make everybody happy, keep things in order, and just be positive overall. Because yeah, when kids are young, you definitely want to be as positive as possible to give them a good outlook on life, literally. Before the world hits him. That was one of the things that was funny, like bringing up from the movie Up. When they show the souls when they're being developed, that they make the joke of, oh, they can't hurt the soul. That's what the real world's for, and um, it's she is very well. She's just a great mother. Uh, trying to keep things in order. The father is very hardworking. He's an old school type, which I think works a lot for this time frame. Granted, of course, we've had that before, where this hardworking, hands-on kind of guy, pretty outdoorsy, kind of guy that doesn't get his kids because of technology being, evolving and advancing to a point where it's pretty much being, it's making it easier for life, but making people more dependent on the technology for everyday use. So, that's a lot of big conflicts there and stuff. So, but yeah, like it works really well. They even set, I think this the time frame that they set this in is the late 2020s, right before school season. So I think that was September. I think they dated on it. So it's interesting. Like I said, the little brother is the little brother. The only thing I thought was weird with the little brother is his voice. It's just weird. It took me a little while to get used to it, but I got used to it. It just didn't sound like a little kid's voice. That's all. At least a little kid I've met. So yeah, there's that. Uh, it is funny. It does work, but yeah, it's interesting what they did with the main character, which is the daughter for sure, and then the father. And like I was saying, and I went on a giant tangent earlier, uh, that I think the daughter is. I mean, she's at an age where yeah, you're not really, you're still kind of figuring out yourself. And then even in the promo where she, when showing her growing up, she even says, it's like I really didn't. I really had a hard time figuring out myself until she found her own style, and it's interesting. It's definitely interesting. I mean, like her focus is mostly on her movies and stuff, so yeah, she's not really focused on anything else besides that. But now that she has a friend that she's made, that she has a really good connection with, I would think if they made a second movie, there might be something there. Uh, That's just something I got, which I'm kind of surprised. Like I said, I haven't looked too much into it, but considering how movies and TV shows and everything, how they've been just like flaunting all these, characters, that are out, for the LGBTQ uh, T plus community, just, how everyone's been celebrating this fact, but in this one, it's like, oh yeah, she's just they roll her just like a real person. I'm thinking, because she's so normal, that's why they haven't really been like, hey, look, look what we got. We got a gay person in our movie. But I think it's just because she's so down to earth and normal that they haven't really latched onto her. Granted, of course, like I said, in the movie, it's not blatantly obvious. They don't say what her sexuality is. She doesn't really get to a point where she says something else besides that. But yeah, it's interesting, to say the least, that I haven't seen anyone talk about it. considering all the other things, stuff like that. So hey, it's cool. I mean, if they do, it's cool. If they don't, it's cool too. I mean, like I said, the writing for these characters are very wow written. I mean, it's kind of shockingly crazy how well written and down to earth a lot of these characters are, because you've probably seen someone like some of these characters. There are some exaggerations, of course, like the neighbors that are like the perfect neighbors and stuff, but I mean, it feels like, that's just part of the whole, the grass is greener on the other side, and you don't know, you don't appreciate what you have until, you really look or you lose. So there's a lot to it, but overall, it's a really fun movie. It's a really great movie. There's a lot of good visuals to it. So it's definitely a movie you got to pay attention to, just to catch those little um, things, those little, pieces here and there, the little graphic art designs and stuff like that that they added in. So check it out. Netflix, I mean, can't go wrong with it. Man, I am missing the movie theaters, because that was one thing that I enjoyed, was going to movies like every other week, or even every week, or sometimes twice a week when we had the double features. But hopefully things get back to normal. I am glad that they are actually releasing movies compared to last year. Last year they just literally pushed back all big movies, and this year they're actually trying to push out a lot of those big movies that they have left over. But yeah, I mean, I'm just hoping things get back to normal, and we'll see you guys on the next one. I can't really think of the next movie that's supposed to be big coming out, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. I'm sure there's something that's coming up this month. I just can't think off the top of my head. So next time, guys. Later.